back. Thank you very much. I know we caught Harry and Gaffer off guard there, but we are back. The Chelsea fan. Actually, Jonathan said it brilliantly a minute ago. The Chelsea Downcast tonight. Welcome to the Chelsea Downcast with Stamford Dirge. There you go. Actually, no.
Clever, Chidge.
I know, off the cuff.
Very good.
Off the cuff. This is Jonathan Kidd, by the way, my right-hand side. This is Pablo, and the lovely man to our left, the man with sense. The brains
and smelling salts.
And smelling salts, yeah.
Smelling salts.
The brains of an otherwise no-brain outfit.
Give us another hit of the smelling salts.
Dan Levine. And as you can see, we are technically out of order tonight. There you go, just in case you were wondering. I think Dan just got that from the loos here, but there you go. Anyway, right, what we're going to talk about now is something that, thankfully only having one match this week affords us the opportunity so to do. But I know that it's been the issue for most of the season that we haven't really had strikers who are probably really good enough to have kind of won us the title. I think that's being diplomatic, isn't it?
It's fair.
It's fair, isn't it? So I kind of thought, wouldn't it be good to kind of have a chat about what kind of strikers we need and who they might be. So I'm going to kind of kick it off really with a kind of what kind of striker do we need up front. And it occurred, and I've said this before on the show, that it's very difficult. It's actually, weirdly, on the day when it looks like David Moyes is going to get the tin tack from United for finding it impossible to follow Sir Alex Ferguson, Chelsea kind of have the same problem with their strikers, that it seems to be almost impossible for any striker to be able to follow Didier Drogba. And what I really mean by that is, Dan and I were talking about this before the show. The thing about Drogba, he was almost unique in that he's the kind of striker that can play up front on his own, hold the ball up, link others into the play, or just go and create his own chance and score from it. He can do it all. Big physical presence, highly skillful goal scorer.
And I know it's not really fair because he quite clearly, arguably is our greatest player of all time and quite clearly was fantastic. But he did have seriously long periods of non-performance.
Yeah. He kind of only did it when he fancied it for a while. He spent most of the first season falling over, didn't he? So it took him a while to get going. But what I'm really saying, the point with all of this is that should we be looking for a striker like Drogba, or should we be looking for should we be looking for a fox in the box? i.e. somebody who just stands on the 6-yard line but scores, or should we be looking for a Luis Suarez type of player, i.e. a player who can link all the play together but can also score chances himself? Not the physical presence that Drogba was in terms of holding the ball up at his own, but he links play so well and he's a great goal scorer. Which kind of striker should we be looking for?
Well, we don't need a player to hold it up in the same way that Drogba did anymore, because we tend to have three people behind him now. So it's a lot more. You got players closer to him, whereas in the past,
in the net, don't you?
Yeah,
get it in the back of the net.
That's all we're after.
Obviously, if there is a player like of Suarez's quality that can be found, you'd want to go for that.
There's a few qualities of Suarez that I would. It's very interesting actually, because a lot of people do talk about, well, we should have Suarez. I would rather stick a hot red poker up my rear end.
You would not be saying that after he scored 30 goals in the season.
Have that cheating, racist, diving scumbag playing at this club.
But he's probably the best player in the world at the moment. Sorry,
I don't like him.
I don't like him either.
I don't like him. I don't want him at my club.
In the same way.
I don't want people who bite people and who are racist, who dive.
Arsenal wanted him though, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's up to them, isn't it?
Yeah. So who if he's a similar player isn't available, who is there available? What players?
Well, we're going to get onto that. Don't premature speculation.
Too late. I've gone.
Premature speculation.
Failing a.
He acted that because he didn't take the top off, because he's an actor.
Yeah, failing a truly world-class player that may or may not be available, and you want to get someone that's going to score, basically. So, I'd personally be going all out for
Pablo,
Hernandez.
you're all wrong.
Well, we're going to talk about the players later. I want to really establish what kind of striker, because you see, I'll tell you what. See, my theory is that I don't think it's as simple as saying, well, let's get that kind of striker. I think, actually, what you want 3 or 4 strikers. You want a variety. So perfect scenario for me would be to try and get a Drogba-esque type striker, a guy who is a physical presence, let's say, but one who is clearly far better technically than Demba Ba.
Lukaku.
Well, hang on. Who has legs in him, unlike Eto'o anymore. So I get one like that. I'd get a kind of a small, nippy, goal-scoring, technically gifted type of striker, like a Suarez. Okay. And I'd also get a fox in the box. Somebody you could just stand at the 6-yard line and put them in when you need to. Somebody could score goals. And then I think you've got all bases covered. So for any eventuality, it tactically, that gives you far more options.
So basically you want a tapas plate with strikers.
No.
They don't have to
I
be
want
Spanish.
a smorgasbord of strikers.
They don't have to be Scandinavian.
Exactly. I want them to be the finished product.
Oh. Now that works. Now that one works.
I'm so good that my jokes come out an hour
later.
Exactly.
I think the chances of us signing 3 truly world-class strikers in the summer are nil. And we have.
That's what I love about Pablo. So optimistic.
Why is that?
Proper Chelsea.
We've got 2 or 3 other areas of the team that need to be strengthened. We don't have unlimited money. They're not spending.
So you think we'll just buy one outstanding striker, which looks as if it'll be Costa?
I think we'll buy Costa.
Yeah, so I think there'll be one sort of 30 to 40 million bracket, and then a couple of
50. They said on the BBC.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Sports. It was wrong, was it?
Now, don't talk about.
His buyout's 32 million.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to get into to those who might stay, and that's heavily influenced by the level. Because I want to finish up on that. We might as well. Actually, before we do that, we kind of cover most things on here. I'll tell you what I am worried about, and I don't know. I mean, Dan will probably share this sentiment as well, but it's a classic old thing. It's almost the worst time to go and buy players, particularly strikers, because it's World Cup year. So what worries me is that we have a World Cup and we see this guy who's on fire for 4 games, and you have to go and pay stupid money for them, and then they end up being El Hadj Diouf, or even worse, Karol Poborski. Do you remember?
I remember,
Karol
yes, and
Poborski?
he was dreadful for United.
One good tournament.
But do they do that anymore? I don't think they do
Yeah.
that anymore. I think they've got too much video footage of them for the whole of the season.
Chelsea, particularly in these sort of tournament summers, they tend to get their work in early.
I hope they do. They've got a window of
yes, exactly.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
I mean, there's almost always someone that Chelsea sign in the last week of the window, but the big signings tend to be quite early in the summer.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's hope.
So they'll be on their radar at the moment.
Yeah.
I think Costa's all well.
Almost.
But let's talk about Costa.
Let's not talk about done
Strengths and
deals. We're not
weaknesses.
talking about ITKs, but quite clearly they seem to have something going on there.
I'd rather talk about TK Maxx than ITK, mate. But come on, Diego Costa is the absolute favourite to come here. He's going to cost us an arm and a leg.
Or half a Torres.
Or half a Torres. But what are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? Why should we be getting this player?
He's a fighter.
Very fit, very athletic, very determined.
He kicks a post
fabulous
well.
shot.
He kicks a post
Yeah,
well.
very,
You should have
very-
seen the post.
Well,
I tell you, it was broken in half.
By his cods.
By his cods, yeah. I mean, I like him. He looks like a proper striker, but he's only had one year of really being on fire, and that kind of worries me because you see it with strikers a lot. A lot of strikers will have this kind of one good year, and then the next year they're awful.
Benteke, as an example.
Exactly, and there's no reason why. I mean,
Demba.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so Costa.
I think there's a level of difference between playing fairly well for a mid-table team and.
But we'd all be agreed
Madrid
with Diego Costa. That's our main target. He should be our main striker next year. Yeah.
He's only 25 or so. He's got plenty of time behind him, and he's an informed striker.
What do you lot think, benchers? You would Diego Costa's the main man for you? First choice.
Yeah, I'd look in the Premier League. Sorry. Yeah, hello. I look at Swansea, Boney. I mean, I think he's a good player.
Now, here's the thing, right? He's called it's Wilfred Boney, isn't it? Not William Boney.
in fact, it's Wilfried.
Wilfred. So he's Willie Boney, which is basically William Bonney was Billy the Kid.
He was.
So I would like to get Wilfried.
Can I
No.
extinguish that fire?
No, you can't. You can have some smelling salts and shut up.
He played for
I'd like to
he
get
played for
Wilfried.
Vitesse.
I'd like
So
to-
if we were going to buy him,
We've
we'd have
run a
bought him
rule
last
over
summer.
Yeah. But I mean, I like him just so we can have a player called Billy the Kid. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? It would. Come on.
Just on Costa, if we can talk about Costa for a minute, going back to that. I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying that you've had all this stuff about Courtois and Chelsea and the game that's going to be played tomorrow and the game that's going to be played in 8 days' time. And somebody who should know about these things said to me, Chelsea are likely to have to do 2 fairly big bits of business with Atletico this summer. Now, one of those is obviously Diego Costa.
Yes.
The other one is obviously Thibaut Courtois.
Is that a dog?
No, that's Mixler on my iPhone
Oh,
going
wow.
off.
Sounds like a dog.
And we've talked about Courtois quite a lot.
Yeah.
And you sort of wonder if we're going to get Costa, whether that means we're going to have to sacrifice Courtois for another season. And I suspect that's how it's going to pan out.
But is it necessarily a sacrifice if it's one more year?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, because Czech's still in good shape, I think.
Yeah.
So, look, we're all agreed about Diego Costa, which is really good. Because the next one on my list...
Can I just ask one more second? So he's not like to be sold to them. It'll still be another year.
Oh, no.
One of the first things Chelsea should do this summer is extend Thibaut Courtois' deal.
Yeah, which I think is he was talking about being actually on the.
And he's made some.
That's what's
He's come out and made some pretty mature quotes this
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
considering he's.
Now, look,
21.
Yeah.
next on the list,
Yeah.
just to move it on, Falcao. Now, I thought Falcao this time last year
Was wonderful.
was our number one target. And he looked, I mean, that hat-trick, it was a hat-trick he scored against in the Super Cup. I mean, what a player. But he's done his knee, and it just gives me the heebie-jeebies that we might go and spend an awful lot of money on a player who had a great reputation and who was very good, and who also played for Atletico Madrid, who we buy with a dodgy knee. Oh, Briggany Bells. Oh, Torres. I mean, you can't take that risk, people, surely.
I mean, it's a different injury, and people do come back from ACLs now.
He's going to be... They're rushing him back for the World Cup, which will kill his career. Trust me, it's the last thing he should do as a player.
Yeah. But
the last thing we should do is buy him, if that's the case.
And I sincerely hope that we don't.
No.
And also, there are all sorts of questions about the ownership of Falcao that make it
third-party
very
issues. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I always thought there was a third-party issue with Diego Costa because I thought Costa Coffee owned him.
Hey!
You know. Okay, no love tonight. Oh no, okay. All right, okay. I'll take my punishment.
Oh, Chidge, that's the best face yet. That was almost orgasmic.
I'm going to take a pause after that. Right, now the next one. I've got a bit of a left field one on the list here. I was hoping you'd be impressed that I'd even heard of this bloke. All right, but you know what? I cheated. You know, I did, because funnily enough, Football FanCast, unbeknownst to me, did an article on the 5 strikers that we should choose. And I had a look through that, and I found this guy called Jackson Martinez, and I have heard a lot of... I'm not a football nerd, so I don't worry about... the only players I worry about are the ones that I can see on the pitch when I turn up at Stamford Bridge. You know, I'm not a football nerd. But I have heard people talking about this kid. Look at it. He's just had a smelling of smelling salts. Look, he's got that face.
Yeah.
Is Jackson Martinez the one who does all those paintings with bicycle chains? And...
That's Jackson Pollock, isn't it?
Damn, I mean...
Different bloke entirely. But anyway,
Really?
he looks a striker. But I've heard that he is the kind of quick, technically gifted kind of striker, the kind of the Luis Suarez type player.
Costa light for me.
Costa light.
Yeah.
Well, you see, they reckon that we might not get him is because he's being lined up by Atletico Madrid to replace Costa when we buy him. So there's all this ITK nonsense going on.
Who's he play for?
Porto, but he looks a decent player.
Porto,
but another one in a similar vein to him, and I think this is even more interesting. And I know that we've been rumoured to be in for him, and this kind of makes a bit of sense. Is Mandzukic, who is a Croat, isn't he? He's Croatian.
Yeah,
I think so.
Now he plays for Bayern Munich. He's their number 9. I've got to be honest. Every time I've seen him play, I've not been massively
no, that's Mario
impressed.
Gomez you're thinking of, isn't it?
No. I know how rubbish he is. We wouldn't have won the Champions League if it hadn't been for Gomez. We owe the man a huge amount because he was awful that night. Do you remember the chances he missed? I could have done better than him. Anyway, Mandzukic is highly rated. He's Bayern Munich, but of course Lewandowski's coming in the summer, which will render his position a little bit untenable, I would have thought. So there's rumours that
he'll be
United's supposed to be in.
He'll be 12 to 18 million to a Premiership club, a top 7 Premiership club.
Yeah, but you see, United aren't going to be in the Champions League next year.
It
so they're
depends who
going to find
Louis
it
van
tough.
Gaal wants to buy.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Or AVB, of course. Or is he going to Barcelona?
PSG, I'd heard.
That was the best thing I heard today. That actually even trumped Moyes getting the tin tack. Apparently, AVB has been approached by Barcelona. Please, God, let it be true. Let it be true that AVB goes to Barcelona and my life will be complete.
Brilliant.
That is what I would call a project and a half. That would be. I would have an orgasmatron or something. Whatever. What do you used to call his little diagrams?
Organogram.
Yeah, well, I'll have an orgasmatron, please. Anyway, so Mandzukic.
I'd take him as second choice. I don't think he'd turn up as second choice, though.
Okay. What about my last one on the list, which is a bit controversial? Wasn't on Football FanCast, but yeah, I know. Jonathan's like, what? Ibrahimovic. Personally, I'm not an Ibrahimovic fan. I don't think he's ever. He's only ever
missing.
scored. He's only ever scored against Arsenal out of all the English teams that he's played in the Champions League. I know he demolished England, but who couldn't? I'm not convinced by Ibrahimovic. I don't buy into the publicity and the hype. But what I do buy into is his relationship with Mourinho, and very much like Eto'o's relationship with Mourinho. You know what? I could see it happening, but I wouldn't be keen.
He would be great fun, in my opinion, but he's 31, 32, and currently the highest paid player in the world.
So again,
as well as having different sorts of strikers, one who can be a fox in the box, one who can be the supply, that sort of thing. We need 3 different sort of mindsets. We need a first choice, a second choice, and a third choice,
absolutely.
and people who are happy to be there. Now, Ibrahimovic wants to be a first choice striker wherever he goes, and he won't be at Chelsea.
Absolutely not. I mean, I only throw it in as a bit of a red herring because I think the relationship with Mourinho is very, very strong. But I personally wouldn't want him there anyway. I don't think he's good enough. But I think your point there, Dan, is absolutely spot on. Now, let's move.
Can I just say who I would buy? Isn't one of those Hernandez from United?
Well, I was going to say exactly the same.
Hands down.
Stand him. He always scores against us, but I mean, he doesn't do it against anybody else.
Yes, he does. He just doesn't play.
He can't be third, fourth choice at United.
But he's an ideal replacement for Demba Ba. Very happy to play third choice at club.
Well, I don't think he's that happy at United being third choice.
I think Jose can make him being happy.
Okay, because there's always been rumblings about him not being happy. Danny Welbeck's not happy.
Anyone who's not playing in this Moyes team that clearly isn't performing has a right to be unhappy, don't they?
Yeah.
Because I suspect they haven't been treated well in the slightest.
Well, okay, that's a fair point. He's your fox in the box. But I tell you what I'd like to get onto the last couple of minutes that we've got. Very quickly, should any of Eto'o, Torres and Ba stay?
No.
Well,
I think we all agreed the other week that we wouldn't have that.
No,
none of them. No. They're all off.
If they want to offer Eto'o another deal and he's prepared to take it, I wouldn't have a problem.
I would have Eto'o just to kind of hang around with the smelling salts in case anybody needed them.
Mentions in dispatches definitely for Sammy for being, for having big character and being a don.
Yeah.
Mentions also
and a boat
for Demba.
And definitely not a raspberry.
Okay. Mentions for Demba for being happy to be third choice
and liking strawberry syrup.
Really professional about it. I think that's where our mentions end.
Okay. Yes, you don't.
Is there anybody else?
Well, no, because I'm saying that the other. We get rid of those 3. We certainly buy Costa. We toying up. We might buy one of Martinez, Mandzukic, or Hernandez. But I think there's other choices here, and I personally would love to see Lukaku come back because. I don't think he's the finished article yet. I think he's done very, very well this season. I think he's got a lot to learn as a man as well as a football player. Hang on, Dan. But for me, he could become that player who could fit that Drogba-esque mould. I mean, that goal he scored against Arsenal was absolute quality. That was Drogba-like. He's a big unit. He can hold the ball up when his technique gets a bit better, and he can score chances that he creates himself. So that would be my Drogba-esque one for the future. And I mean, sorry, mate, you're going to have to be third choice because you're not as good as Diego Costa yet, and you're not as good as Mandzukic or Martinez.
What if he won't do it?
Yeah, he won't
well, then you get rid of him.
Exactly.
Because you don't want players in your squad who don't want to be there.
I think he's already shown he doesn't want to be there.
Summer.
You really think that he's going to be used as a make weight, basically?
I think we'll get as much money as we can for him.
Yeah. Well, 35
which won't be insubstantial at all, will it? That'll be 20 plus.
What about...
What did they pay for him? 17?
Well, that's debatable. It was based on things like performance and things like that. But I think somewhere between 15 and 20.
What about getting, very quickly, because we've got about a minute left, but what about getting Bamford back and in as the third or fourth choice? Too young, not ready yet?
Love the idea, but he would get found out.
He's level as the Championship.
All right. You've got 10, 15...
If Derby get promoted, it'd be perfect for him to have another season there.
10, 15 seconds. Who are your 3 then?
Hernandez, Costa, and someone else.
And another.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Costa, and I've got no clue about who else.
Yeah, I'm kind of Costa, and then I get stuck at Costa, like I tend to do every morning. Anyway, enough of that. Very interesting discussion. I do like the fact that we get a chance to talk about these things occasionally.
Is there a footballer called Starbucks?
No, but
I probably a Nero.
There is one called Cafe Nero. Anyway, we got to go. We'll be back in a minute to talk about betting on football. Oh yes, see you in a minute.